So what actually was it that got you to be giggling? What did the facilitator, the girl, do, and what were the tools that she also gave to you?
Great question. Well, she did this. There's one of the beginning parts of Access that you can receive is this thing called the bars. And the bars are these 32 points on the head. And they have names like money, body, sexuality, control, sadness, joy. And when you put your hands on these bars, what it does is it dissipates the electromagnetic component, the right and wrong, the polarized component of thought, which locks those things in place. And I had no idea what any of this was, because when she said, yeah, we've got this stuff, I'm like, great, I've done all kinds of stuff. What is the result? And she said, well, at the worst, you'll feel like you had a good massage. And at the best, your whole life will change. And in the back of my head, I was going, my whole life better change or I'm killing myself. I guess I could give it a shot. And so she did this thing called the bars. And literally every time she would move her hands, I would start giggling more. And it created a sense of space in my head for the first time in years. Because I don't know about you, but for me, a lot of my life, it felt like this compression, it was like, eh. And it felt like there was this elephant sitting on my head so much of the time, and it felt like for the first time somebody removed the elephant. And it's not like the elephant didn't try to climb back on, but I had ways of fighting him off after that. And one of the tools that she shared with me was, and I got to tell you, over the course of my time in Access, we've come up with many weird things, many weird pieces of information that are not sort of out there in the world, but they seem to work. And one of the things she said was, well, one of the things we found in Access is that 98% of your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions don't belong to you. I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? Like, what good does that do me? She said, well, you're like a big psychic radio receiver. And in actuality, a lot of the stuff that you think is yours, a lot of that heaviness is just stuff you're picking up in the world. And I was like, oh, come on, it couldn't be that easy. She's all, well, what if it could? And I went, okay, how do you use it? And she said, ask this sentence. Say, who does this belong to? To the thoughts, the feelings, and the emotions that you have. And if you'll do it for 3 days, at the end of 3 days, you walk around like you're in a walking, talking meditation. And I was like, yeah, right, like that'll work. And she wrote it down on a little sticky note. I get home that night and I put it next to my, I'm unloading my stuff on my nightstand. I put it on next to my clock, and it happens to be propped up there. Well, one of the things that happened for me at that time in my life, which by the way is totally different than now, but I would wake up and I would literally start crying because I didn't know how I was going to make my life work. I was going to go to my chiropractic practice and work on people, and I was like, I'm so unhappy. How can I work on anybody? And so this started one day, and I still had that little piece of paper there, and I woke up and I had this thing of starting to feel like I was hopeless and helpless and couldn't do it, and started that crying thing. And I look over to see what time it is, to see if I need to get ready for work, and I see these words on this yellow sticky note: who does this belong to? So of course I read it because it was on the thing, and literally all of that stuff vanished. All the crying, all the hopeless and helpless went away. And I went, are you kidding me? Really? It was the first thing that made that particular thing go away. And I went, oh my gosh, what if I've just been picking up on everybody else's stuff? And I was overjoyed and furious at the same time. Overjoyed because it changed, and furious because it's like, somebody should have told me this when I was born. Look, you're really psychic. You're like a big psychic radio receiver. Most of the crap you're going to think is yours actually isn't. Here's a way to undo it.
Awesome. Amazing, actually. And that's a great tool that that we can all use from now on. Who do these thoughts belong to?
Yeah, and I would hope people would, to the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, the judgments. And I apologize. I get a little passionate and excited when I start talking about this, because that's literally what happened to me. And if I hadn't had it so drastically, I, like a lot of people who are listening to this right now, are like, yeah, right, like that would have worked. That was my point of view too. So it really surprised me when it worked. So I get a little excited about this, because it's like, no, man, this stuff can happen for you too. It's not just me. Believe me, I was not some miracle child. I'm just somebody who's using this stuff. So